I was so sick that day. I had 103 fever. I'm like, I cannot cancel this.
Welcome to Project Red. Today we have Tabitha Newell, or as you may know her from Little Bit of Life podcast, Little.
I was really affected by the first strain of the COVID virus that came through. Wow. I worked in the medical field. I was very successful. Fast forward now, soon to be 5 years later, it has ruined my immune system. It sparked autoimmune and MS and neurological conditions. And so I felt really defeated at that time. I had that almost stripped away from me.
Welcome to Project Red. Today we have Tabitha Newell, or as you may know her from Little Bit of Life podcast, Little.
That's right.
We are so excited to be talking to you today. I've been listening to episodes of your podcast, looking at your social media. You've got such a great thing that you've created here, and I'm just so eager to have this conversation. How are you doing?
I'm good. I am so excited to be asked to be on this podcast. I love what you guys are doing with Project Red, and I just feel so honored to be a part of this today.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us. This is awesome.
As we get started, for anyone that might not know who you are, I would love for you to just kick us off with telling us about you, about Little Bit of Life podcast, and anything else you would love to let people know.
Yeah, so I am a Phoenix transplant that kind of launched into the state of Texas. They have embraced me fully. I love it here.
Yeah.
And my name Little, it came from as growing up, I never got big. I was always the last one picked on the dodgeball team. I was always picked on. And I always remember my mom and my grandmother telling me, like, you know, you're going to have a growth spurt someday. You know, it's going to happen. It never happened. And so it just kind of branched on social media. It just kind of became the name. It's what nicknames, you know, people had called me. And, you know, everyone said, here's this little body with this big personality and a lot to say and a lot to stand up for. And so it just kind of overtook and is stuck for life.
Dude, I love that. That's great. Yeah, we were recently, my wife and I, Andrea, got to be on your podcast. Of course, we got to share about Hands and Feet Project, and you so kindly allowed us to share what we're doing there in the country of Haiti and stuff. So I really appreciate you giving us a voice on your platform, and we're so happy to have you kind of to unpack about you and this whole thing that you've created. Our word for this, if we kind of go thematically here through our months that we're doing this, is focus. And so we really are wanting to encourage people out there with the different things. Hands and Feet's word for the year is endeavor. And so as we think of endeavoring on big things, especially in Haiti, we think of mountains and how we're always seeming to be climbing mountains, get to a summit, and then there's mountains behind mountains. And so coming at it from a place of focus too on this conversation, just like what it takes to remain focused in something that can sometimes be difficult. So hopefully the conversation will unpack a lot of how you, basically it sounds like you started this thing and it just went to the moon. So maybe tell us what the secret sauce is, or why do you think people connected to this, or what was it that just really gave this the launch that it had?
It went to the moon. Let me just say, I was never ready. I didn't have a flight suit prepared. I'm afraid of heights, so I wasn't expecting that.
So perfect.
Yeah, it's really, honestly, there's no secret sauce. I've been born and raised to have honesty and integrity and stand behind really, truly, deep down what matters. And I think all of us really dove into social media during COVID. That's how my podcast started. Because I was really affected by the first strain of the COVID virus that came through. That no one knew what it was. I worked in the medical field. I was very successful. I was very proud of what I did. And I caught the first strain before anyone knew what it was. And fast forward now, almost soon to be 5 years later, it has ruined my immune system. It sparked autoimmune and MS and neurological conditions. And so I felt really defeated at that time. I just felt like what I was really good at and what I had a passion behind, and, you know, helping people in the medical community, I had that almost stripped away from me. And I started really seeking out information on social media, and I truly believe social media can connect us in a community. It always depends on who you interact with and your followings.
Yep.
But I also kind of to really see this sense of censorship and people not feeling safety in talking about their experience, talking about their passions, talking about their fears. And that's truly where my podcast, Little Bit of Life, came from. The motto is what we seem to think but don't say.
I love that.
And it just launched. I mean, it was something where it is a true safe space without censorship, judgment, to share stories. And I never put myself in a box because there's always a story that somebody can share that we can all maybe connect with in one way, shape, or form.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
I love all that. I did not know all of that.
No,
so that's wild.
To create that kind of environment and atmosphere where your listeners can come and just feel like they can be honest with you. I mean, what are some of the difficulties with that? Do you find that some people aren't willing to be honest, or is there a lot of backlash that you face when you are too honest?
You seem like
maybe?
you got some haters. You were talking about that a little bit
It's
ago.
kind of impossible to avoid these days.
I'm very protective of my guest simply because being vulnerable in life is very hard. It comes with the fear of ourselves of speaking up and speaking out, because normally with vulnerability, it comes, you're doing something different. You're breaking a mold. You're kind of that forefront and that voice for other people to possibly follow. But it comes with a lot of pressure. It's something where I'm very protective of my guests. I've been very much since the start of doing this. I don't allow comments. I don't allow a space for negativity, because I think with comments, it's great. I started the podcast to be able to educate, share stories, connect the community. We connect by sharing, and that's the only way that I allow for my episodes to kind of be interactive. But I also realized then I'm not giving people also the space to educate me if maybe I'm wrong, or if maybe a guest has a different viewpoint. So that's recently just changed this year, where I started, really pushing out YouTube videos, having interactive polls on social media. And truly, I've learned a lot. I felt that my way was the right way. And it's really opened my mind from the other side of negativity. Doesn't have to be hurtful or mean or anything like that, but you can take that in as a form of education and then learn from that, even if it's not your story you're telling.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, what a great perspective, and being able to make that,
make that pivot
positive and purposeful.
Yeah, that's true.
So when you've got guests that are coming on, how do you create an atmosphere, even just sitting alongside them, that they feel comfortable to, open up? I mean, because that's difficult for me, even with people that I'm close to. What are you doing to get them to take that next step?
It's honestly being myself. I have presented myself online for who I am.
Yep.
I've seen this world morph with, many friends of mine that are successful on social media platforms and content creators. And I've kind of just sat and watched. And it's something where I never want my podcast to be scripted. I want it to just flow naturally. It's a truly honest conversation. And some of the topics we talk about aren't easy. Some of it is very trigger warning for a lot of people. But I just simply provide the space. I give opportunities if they want to have a meet and greet, if there's, a very sensitive topic. I like for them to feel comfortable, because just because a platform is there, it may not be the right fit for you. It may not be that safe space. And I always tell people it's a sense of healing. I've had a lot of people come on and talk about some very sensitive topics, and, they've stated, I never felt brave enough, strong enough, ready enough to come on. And it's been incredible, because they've gone on to create, their own podcast, with the help and advice. They've created nonprofits. They've created companies that they have now taken a trauma and really taken the power. So it's honestly just been sharing my story and honestly stating, we're humans. I'm not going to do everything right. But in those moments of maybe I can learn something, and, I've even been known, I'm the first one to apologize publicly. If I have said something or done something, I think that's crucial in life. It's taking the wins, but also taking the losses and taking accountability for that safe space of respect.
I love that. I love that. So what, keeping the idea of focus in mind, what keeps you focused? What keeps you grounded? Maybe even go into like a day in the life of Tabitha and like, just what are some of your passions outside of the podcast? What do you enjoy doing in life and all those kinds of things?
My focus has always been to help. I was always that kid on my report card that says she's not focusing on what she's supposed to. She's talking to the kids. She's helping other people. I was always raised almost to love the underdog. And it's carried with me through my life. I have to thank my grandparents for that and my parents for that. They did an amazing job. And I tell my mom that every day, like, man, you did a good job. I don't know if I told you, you've done a good job. But my focus is truly just staying true to myself from the moment I wake up till the morning I go to bed. And having, MS and an autoimmune disorder, it's been that frustrating path of there's some days that physically my body can't do what I want to do for purpose, but my brain is still there doing it.
Yeah.
So I think my focus is now, I don't know what the future looks like medically. I don't know. Recently my brain scan showed my entire front lobe is full of white matter. That's not able to be repaired. So I think that's been a fear of mine of, what this looks like long term and connecting with people in the MS community because we're all different, but we all have similar symptoms.
Yep.
So my purpose has been, and my focus is really just living for today. I don't have control.
So
God
good.
has control. And, just waking up, I have French bulldogs. I now have one that's paralyzed. I've adopted. She's my little walking warrior.
I love it.
And my focus is being in the moment. I don't have control. God does. So I just have today, and it's just what can I do with that?
I think that's a beautiful way to take on life.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's super biblical too, just not worrying about tomorrow, for today has enough of its own. And we're never guaranteed tomorrow anyway, so it's like just really keying in on, the sunrise that you wake up to and the birds chirping and then even the things that are around each corner or the person or the different things that you might be able to touch that will change someone, something, or, like your bulldog. You were telling us stories about that before we got started. I mean, this is truly a success story, and it's really encouraging a lot of people out there in the pet world. And I'll say something about that. And also you got something really surprising brewing, right? A new venture or something. Let's hear about some of that.
Yeah, everyone knows when she's quiet, there's a reason, and it's always, a focus and a drive. Even my mom's like, I haven't heard from you today. Are you okay? I'm like, busy. She's like, I found my beautiful, her name is now renamed Kaya, which means little warrior one. Okay. And, there was nothing really known about her. A rescue in Arizona took her on, and she wasn't medically vetted until she got to me. And I was very curious, like looking at her, we knew that something was different. Yeah. We found out she was born without her lumbar vertebrae, and she has an S spine. She has hip dysplasia. She's 2 years old.
Wow.
And it's amazing to see everything she's gone through in life. And it's this beauty. And I always get teary eyed when I say this, because even after everything she's gone through, she still has a respect and she still has a love for humans that let her down. Like, that's so beautiful.
Yep.
And, we've worked with companies. My very first bulldog passed away, unfortunately, just at 2 years old from cancer. I had no warning. And so it's that focus where I turned, a trauma and a tragedy into how do I help? Yeah. And, I've recently been partnered with an amazing distributor. They're called Botanical Enlightenment Canine Health. We're distributing an entire nutrition line for canines. Wow. From puppy to adult to if your dog has cancer, we can do preventative care. And it's all healthy ingredients that would go into humans, but it's the same. We need to focus on our animals because for many of us, they're a huge support system. And
Absolutely.
For them, they're my kids.
Oh, I love it.
I definitely understand that. I have 2 labs, and I mean, they are my world. We got them weeks after my wife and I got married, and we just jumped straight into it. And I mean, I would do anything for those dogs. And I mean, we're constantly searching for, the best options for food. So, I mean, the fact that you're building this is just so meaningful to me personally, just because I want that for my dogs, and those are my babies.
I love that.
And that's coming from a new father too.
Yeah,
those are still my babies.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. I love that.
So what's that process been like to build this? I mean, you've got your podcast going still. I mean, how are you balancing that workload?
That's a good question. Wow.
It's been hard. It's something where, again, it's where that focus, but I still have that drive comes from. So medically, it's based on community. My family has backed this. So now it's kind of a family event. And I love that.
That's a big deal.
And it's really hard because it's come with it. And I know it's coming with a lot of backlash because when you do something different, you're judged for that. I always go with Joshua 1:9. It's always be strong and courageous. Do not be frightened. Do not be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
That's
and
awesome.
I continue to feel that of, if we live in fear our whole entire lives, what was on the other side of fear?
Yep.
What could you have done? But I think also with that fear is acknowledging sometimes you just can't do it by yourself, and that's okay. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
So we're kind of on that verge of like, oh, it's coming, it's launching. I'm right there in a couple days. And it comes with that fear of what's going to happen on the other side. But it's incredible. And I'm so honored to partner with, Botanical Enlightenment and all of their scientists and research. Because they said, your story is always speaking out, but it's helping others so that we, again, I mean, as you said, we treat our animals sometimes better than we treat our kids. It's a thing. But they're a part of the family. And it's, I never wanted somebody to stand in a room like I did and hear, there's no options.
For sure.
And that's just really driven me. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't agree with you. There's always going to be somebody that doesn't like what you're doing. That's okay. My experience has always been everything comes full circle. There's only one person that can judge that. And so I'll do the best that I can with the day that I'm given. And this is what I choose to do with it.
That is beautiful. I love that.
Killer. Good for you. You go. That's awesome.
I'm still scared. So
of course. I mean,
we'll be thinking about you in the next couple of days here. We'll be rooting you on and thinking about you and just thinking the launch. Hope the launch is just exceptional and all the things that you wanted it to be. That's going to be so cool.
I mean, I know personally, I'm going to go home and tell my wife about it. We are on board. This is awesome.
That's killer.
Love
it.
So you talk about, you're in the day, you're focused on today. You have so many things that you could be putting your time and energy into. Those things are valuable. How do you know where to draw that line where you can confidently say no to something or yes to something?
That's a hard one because I think I'm still learning that. I'm learning that there's boundaries. I'm learning that there is a healthy way to be passionate about something that you're proud of. Stand behind something that maybe you're the only person standing up in that moment. But still learning that at your core, you're still a human being. You have limits. My body, unfortunately, now with my conditions, it tells me when I've reached my limit. I still push it a little. But it comes from, migraines to blindness to speech problems. And that's hard when I'm known for speaking out in my voice. And it's scary when my body limits that, but I truly feel that that's God telling me like you've done enough and then let me take over. So I'm still learning that boundary. And it's hard. I mean, it's really hard to learn. We're always taught to take care of others before yourself. But I'm learning you still kind of have to fill your cup too, because if you don't, you can't help others. And it's so hard.
Yeah, I feel like it's out of the overflow that you can do anything. You got to first tend to yourself. First, do your own time with God, do your own reading, do your own self-help. And then out of that overflow is when you can truly be effective with other people and helping them. So I've experienced that for sure. Yeah.
I mean, an example is, when I had you guys on with Hand and Feet Project on the podcast, for example, that day, and no one knows. And now people are probably like, we're going to go back and watch that video. I was so sick. I was so sick that day with influenza A.
No
I had 103 fever. And I remember sitting here with like a fan, like sweating, so sick beyond measure. And I'm like, I have to do this. I have to continue this. I cannot cancel this because this is such a huge topic. And it's something where, again, that balance, but I was like, God has called them to, with how we connected. And I'm like, I have to do this.
Oh my God.
I mean, I was out for like 2 weeks after that, but
I mean, no idea.
We made it happen.
Yeah, you rocked that.
You never would have known. I mean, I just rewatched that episode. I never would have known.
Oh my gosh, that is a trip. Wow.
Good.
Well, thank you. I don't know if it's a thank you or like a dang. We should have just postponed that. I mean.
Nope.
Oh.
But it's learning that boundary. It's learning, sure. And with boundaries, it does come with personal guilt, and it does come with sacrifice. And it's something I'm still learning. Yeah.
Man. Awesome. Good learning.
Yes, it is.
I keep thinking of my partner in crime in a lot of the band days, Mark Stewart. He faced quite a few things on his journey, and one being losing his main instrument. It was his voice. And as I'm hearing you talking about kind of like your, the things you're going through with your body and the things like that, and when it tells you that you can't go any farther, and he was, we were at the height of our career. It's not like we had run our course or anything like that. We were in stride. We were at the pinnacle. And we were still going strong. And then, spasmodic dysphonia, affecting his voice came in and kind of told all of us that we needed to shut this thing down, And so, and that was just a crazy time. It was a crazy season. And all of us went on to do different things and all of those things. And he certainly is out there doing super amazing things. But he basically... he could have threw his fist up, and he could have been really mad. He could have been, just really ticked off at what he was dealt. But he just continually always reframed it as, you know what, this is something that I'm going to just take in stride, and I'm going to reframe it, and I'm going to go out and do good with it. So he became the voice of a different thing rather than having his voice on stage, And I think all of us, starting Hands and Feet Project in Haiti, him being one of the critical voices in that, his parents being the ones who went down there to start it. He went on to champion and be the voice of the children of Haiti, right? So he was one of the early executive directors of Hands and Feet. So it's just, I love hearing you talk about that and how you're just, you know what you're facing each day, but you're going to take each day in stride and do that. And I believe he's been an amazing example of that too. So that was just something I thought of while you were sharing that.
Yeah, I love that.
So we are just talking about endeavors, and, we're so focused on what this year will bring. You've talked about a little bit of life and your new dog food. What's that next step? I mean, I know you're going to be releasing it, but what is your expectation after that? What are you hoping to see happen?
I think my expectation is just to know that I did something that scared me and I carried it through from the start to the finish. I don't have any expectations on the success of it. I'm a firm believer a product will speak for itself. A story will speak for itself. I think also losing my dog, my very first dog, I did 7 years of research on the breed, and, my mom, she's going to listen and say, She told me, like, you don't need that dog. I do need it. I need it. And it was something where, he brought so much joy into my life. He was my medical service animal. And, I think it's something where I ask God why all the time. Like, why did it have to be me? Why did it have to happen to mine? Why was I the example? But it was truly, I think, to teach me to slow down, to not take things for granted. I'm very OCD. I'm a planner. Everything in my life, my planner is, I'm keeping highlighters in business because it's all color coordinated and it's, it's perfection.
I love it.
But I think the loss, and I think I've learned this in my life that's led me into endeavors at the same time, is slow down, be in the moment, focus on what you're doing. And are you doing this for something out of it? Or are you doing this because you truly have that passion, and that fire behind it? And he really taught me, like, tomorrow is not going to be here. I planned his entire life, our adventures. And it's teaching me now with my medical, with my family, with communities, with the podcast, with everything that I have my hands on, be in the moment, because I've really taught myself, we're always in our phones, we're always on the go, and our families and our kids and our friends, that I've had to reset myself of, was I thankful today? Did I appreciate the opportunities, and an opportunity can be saying hi to somebody at a gas station. I mean, I went and got food just the other day and posted on social media because there was, I was exhausted. I had, Kaya in with me. We had been traveling and I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm not cooking. And everyone's like, everyone said, well, why did you go there? And I looked over and there was a guy in the drive-thru with his 2 dogs. And I remember watching and I'm like, okay, there's I'm supposed to be in this moment. Focus. Why? And he fed his 2 dogs. He was a homeless guy, very young, fed his dogs, but did not feed himself.
Oh, wow.
And it was this urge of like, I have everything I need. I have a roof over my head, health wise. Like I can see, I can speak, I have everything I need. And I took it for granted. And, going over, I watched people like pass by him. And I remember driving over and I asked, do you need anything? And he's like, they don't. And I said, I didn't ask for them. Do you need anything? And he allowed me permission to film. And I ended up getting him 2 nights here in a hotel because I knew it was going to rain and I knew it was going to be a bad situation. Wow. But I think as society, when we do that and when we show love and caring, that also comes with the negative, which is sad of you did this for attention. No, I did this because God put that man there and me there at that time. And it's teaching people, everything can be gone tomorrow. So what are you doing with what you have and your resources today? And I think as society, we look at that so different of, you do everything for attention or you do things for this. And it's like, no, I do it because like you can. Yeah. You don't have to have millions of dollars. You don't have to have a lot of followers on social media. You can do it because you can. So just take the jump and try it.
Yeah, and it's right there in front of you many times. Like you said, you just showed up at that place and there it was. And you chose to act in a certain way to help the situation or to help him. So that's beautiful. Thank you for doing that. That is awesome.
And we've since, we have his name and, community, and we've really helped, finding resources for him and getting jobs because he wasn't able to get a job. He didn't have anywhere to leave his dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, and so you don't think of that. Like, well, you can't go work 8 to 10 hours a day because and he goes, I was removed from my place of living because I would not get rid of them. And so it made me reflect and come home and think the little things that I complain about, are they really that big of a deal?
Yeah, so he chose his dogs over, staying in the place. So what a thing. Yeah, our program in Haiti that we're doing is Montessori daycares, and it's we were seeing moms and dads who were going out to work or to market or whatever, and they were leaving their children at home. And some of the older children were caring for little children. It's basically little children caring for littler children. And it's like, this is not a good thing. And a lot of the problems that we were seeing happening in family were because of that. So the daycare allowed the parents to have a safe space to drop off their children. And it gave them an opportunity to go to work. And, it was just the right setup, and it allowed them to have a peace about where their children were. They could focus on the older children, or they could go to school, other things like that. And the parents could go off to work and have that comfort of knowing all of that is helping their little babies and giving them a safe space, a protein, and all the Montessori fun that they do there, So, I mean, it just reminded me of that. It's just sometimes it's just seeing a situation for what it is, and then just a solution like that can make all the difference in those families' lives. And in the gentleman's life, you coming alongside of him, that's awesome. So I'm assuming like he's got a place for his dogs now, and maybe some people are reaching out and giving him work again, or he might have a place to stay too. All that is maybe happening for him.
So he officially has a place to live that is allowing the dogs. The dogs have been medically vetted because that's also a concern and their health. He does have an amazing job. It's part-time leading to full-time, but it's still an income to be proud of. And he has resources. So I think it's something you can tie in, like what you're saying, with the daycare. I think as individuals in society, we're so quick to judge of, well, why didn't this person do this? Or why did in every story, in every pathway, normally there's a missing piece.
That's right.
That they don't have access to, but it's also terrifying because they also have lived in fear and you don't know their past, or, a lot of times there's a reservation to allow somebody to come in for that missing piece to help.
Yeah. And people are so quick to just fill in the gaps, with not the correct, with not having all the information, and to make a blanket statement, so cool. Kudos on that. That is awesome.
You too.
I love it.
What would some practical first steps be for someone that's listening to this and maybe sees areas of need, but maybe they can't, provide housing or, go that extra mile and take it all the way that it needs to go to help someone? What's that first step that maybe fear's holding them back, or, even their resources?
I think the number one thing is acceptance first. Mm-hmm. And that goes with everything in life. You can't really go far unless you have an acceptance over, you have control over something, or maybe you don't. And then it's also just with acceptance comes seeking help. It doesn't mean you have to shout it from the rooftops. It doesn't mean you have to beg. It doesn't mean anything like that. It's just like, for my personal self, it's acceptance and then just talking openly and honest. It's very scary because it comes with judgment. But I've learned just talking connects you to so many people. That's why I love doing the podcast. And
that's so true.
And it fills space, but it also connects community. Yeah. And in communities, when you think of what a community is, it's a lot of buildings, it's a lot of, structures, but one person doesn't build that. Right. One family doesn't live there. One business isn't there. It's truly connecting to a community. And it comes with just speaking out. And sometimes that's very scary. So I think acceptance is the very first step.
Good word.
Yes, that's amazing.
That's fantastic.
Well, if you have any extra wisdom, you've already provided us with so much.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific, a key piece of wisdom that you would want everyone listening to just take home with them?
I live by this every day. Give yourself grace at the end of the day, because you're your hardest critic. You're your worst critic. And I think that we put pressure on ourselves and we put expectations on ourselves that sometimes you can't. You're never going to meet those. But give yourself grace, because I've had this now currently of, the world can be a beautiful place, but the world can be a very negative and very dark place. Yep. As long as you stand in your word, in your testament, in your proof, in your truth, everything works out. And I think we always focus on looking so far ahead. And like I said before, we don't have control over that. God does. God knows exactly this direction I'm going and why I was put here and why I've gone through what I have. And I always say, give yourself grace, because don't look at traumas as being, a stopping track for you. Look at it as a learning lesson, everything you can learn from.
For sure.
Again, that comes with acceptance. I'm the most stubborn person in the world. This episode is not to make me look like Mother Teresa in any way, shape, or form. Trust me, I am the worst when it comes to acceptance and grace. But I've learned that watching and interacting with people I've had on my podcast. I'm so honored to have spoken with some of the amazing people I have spoken with. And it's still going, and it's giving myself grace to openly accept what is to come to me. And then it's, what am I choosing to do with the honor and the gift I was given?
Oh man, that's awesome. Are there any books that you're reading right now that you could speak of, or what are you into these days do you read a lot, or what's your jam?
I do. I love reading biographies. I'm very much into watching biographies and documentaries on TV. It's where I get a lot of resources. We're coming up soon. We have an anniversary episode coming from the Oklahoma City bombing. When you look at that tragedy and that trauma, I have a guest coming on that was the very last individual that was pulled alive from the rubble.
Oh my goodness.
And her story is amazing. I just reached out after watching the new documentary series on Hulu about her story. And it's incredible. She talks of, the fire chief that was going to go to the second floor to rescue the children from the daycare. And it's incredible, her strength to even talk about it. Because she's like, I was yelling and screaming and she was still buried in her chair. And all she had was her arm to reach out. And the fire chief was like, we thought it was a child. And she, in this moment, it's incredible to speak on, of her stating, I knew if I didn't say something, I would die. But I knew in that moment, if I spoke, they would think I was a child. And, this whole entire fire team came and was helping her. And that's when the second bomb threat came and they left her. And so it's amazing to hear this fire chief state, like, in the documentary series of it, we were talking louder to each other in our crew to drown the sound out of her begging for help. And you take this oath in this job. And it's incredible. She came out, they went back, they were able to she was buried alive for 6.5 hours, still physically in her chair.
Wow.
She lost all of her staff of 18 members at the credit union. And it was this empowering moment of like, I know there's something here. I know there's a story here. She's now the CEO of that credit union. She's done it in memory of everyone she lost.
Oh my gosh. So powerful.
And so it's amazing to see something like that. She could live with anger. She could live with revenge. She was part of that case hearing where she had to go and be a statement witness in front of him. But she still came out on the other side.
Yep.
And so I love watching documentaries showing there's a lot of evil, there's a lot of darkness, but what do you do with that to shine light after that's come out? So documentaries are kind of my thing right now. I have people that will send me messages like, hey, can you get this person? I'm like, all I can do is ask. and God connects us and puts them right where they're supposed to be. So I'm truly honored. I'm so honored of, like I said, every person that I've spoken to. They don't have to be on a TV series. They can literally just be a next door neighbor for me, because I have learned so much in my life from other people. Yeah. It's truly amazing to me.
Yeah, someone's got something to share, really, from their life experience and from how they were raised or where they come from or just their background, all the things that you could get into. That's really cool. I'm glad I asked you that. I'm actually a documentary nerd too. And my wife, when I start another documentary, she's like, "Oh my gosh, you're not starting another documentary." So she blows me up on that, but I have to do that on my own time, I guess.
So good.
Well, this has been wonderful.
I think I have a big question, because on my podcast, I always throw a question out for people.
Oh my goodness.
So I have to do it as a guest. I have
love
to.
That.
You're flipping it on us. I love it.
Wasn't ready.
You know it. You already had this experience. You should know.
Oh, shoot.
I think for each of you, because you asked me this question,
Sure.
Why did you start a podcast? What does this mean? And why does this matter to you to do it?
Yeah, wow, that's really good. I mean, I think Hands and Feet Project's been around for 21 years, and we've done a lot of different things. The band and its platform was the early mouthpiece, and then when that went away, Hands and Feet had to stand on its own. That feeling of this fledgling thing that you don't know if it's ready, you don't know if it's going to make it or survive without this big thing that could potentially be the mouthpiece and all that. But it did, God kept it going, and it gave it other ways to find, roots and to grow. And so I think we just got we're connected to a lot of cool people like you are, and in the music industry and all the other things in 20 years of doing life around Haiti. And we just want to be an encouragement, this whole idea of endeavoring in a hard place where you work hard soil, where you have to till it and you have to put the ingredients in to make it viable again. And you might plant a seed, but you may never see, the fruit that comes from that. You might not ever see it grow, but you're doing the hard work to labor and to love and to plant this and work the dirt. And then there's just so many co-laborers, and there's so many people doing cool stuff like that out there who are still, through the tough things, they're enduring and they're endeavoring to do more, and they're hanging in there. So I think we just want to highlight a lot of those connections and people that we have, give them a voice, and mostly for the audience to be encouraged. Like, I think all of your stories are going to mean so much to the listener that just showed up maybe randomly, or they've been tuned in to kind of Hands and Feet Project and what we're doing, Project Red. But hopefully they're going to catch a word that allows them to remove fear and to jump into something, or to start something, or to, maybe love an animal a little more, or care for a vulnerable animal, or to help someone on the side of the street that they, see and have a different perspective, not make the assumptions about mental health or other things, bad choices or whatever. They they can think sometimes about these situations, and then just go ask a simple question like, can I, what do you need? Or do you need anything, like you did? Such a beautiful question, make ourselves available in moments out there. So for me, that's Project Red, just trying to hear from voices like you and many others to bring encouragement. So what would you say, Patrick?
I mean, you hit almost all of it. But I mean, really the same thing. It's, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And just giving you a place to come and talk about it. And for us to even talk about what we're doing, kind of amplifying that voice, and just kind of bringing people's attention to what's going on in Haiti, just from the Hands and Feet Project side, a way to stay connected with our community and the people that do support us and want to see, a deeper look into what we're doing. And hopefully they can find new people to, follow and be inspired by.
Yeah. That's cool.
I mean, you've just inspired me so much just through your words and your actions and everything I've just heard today, not to mention all of the podcasts I've listened to. It's just, I'm hoping that we can touch someone in just, a small amount of what you're doing for us.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. This has been fantastic. Really appreciate your time and bringing all your raw and real, honesty. I know that's a theme of yours, but it's you live it out and you do it. You don't just say it. So that's been fantastic. Yeah. And
as we're coming to a close, how can people be praying for you? We want to come alongside you. What are some specific prayer requests that you would have?
Awesome.
I have a laundry list. No, I'm kidding.
Come on. Let's do the laundry together.
We all do.
I think mine is just truly for health, because I can't do anything else. I can't do anything else unless I'm healthy. And healthy for me is keeping my mouth and my eyes and my brain connected when my brain's trying to physically stop that. So many people ask, are you afraid? And I'm like, no. I mean, I remember getting my MS diagnosis, and I remember just sitting in the car and I didn't cry. And I remember telling, my mom, and she was just devastated. And she's like, well, what now? And I'm like, well, it's just something on a piece of paper. So that's okay. And I've always lived that way. It's okay. I don't have control. It's okay. And I think mine is just for health and to continue to have the gift that I have and to continue to just do what I can.
I love that.
Yeah.
So we're going to invite everyone to join us in prayer for Tabitha, and just that she would have amazing health. So let's continue to pray for her and think about her and her podcast, her voice, and her amazing attitude about life and taking it a day at a time and all those things. I'm so encouraged by you. Thank you so much for being here, Tabitha.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. Truly an honor.
Oh, thank you so much. All right. Bless you. We'll talk soon.
It was so great talking with Tabitha, or Little.
That's right.
I hope all of you will check out her Little Bit of Life podcast, all of her socials. And as a reminder, Project Red, we're coming out monthly. We are going to be posting new episodes with new guests, all talking about their endeavors and a new word for each month. So I hope that you enjoyed this one and get ready for the next ones. And as we're wrapping up today, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about how you can pray for Haiti. On our website, handsandfeetproject.org, we have resources where you can learn more about what's going on in Haiti, and you can join us in prayer. You can sign up for our prayer and action list, where you'll be sent texts and emails about what's happening and how to better pray. But you can also sign up for a curated Spotify playlist.
Is amazing.
It's got Haitian cultural music, and you can use it to worship to as you're praying. That's awesome. What a great way to just join in the prayer for Haiti while listening to their music.
Thank you, team, for doing that. That's amazing.
I'm so excited about that. Yeah. Now, I also know that you just recently went to Haiti. I would love for you to just kind of recap on that trip and what's going on right now.
Yeah, no, it was an incredible trip. We were there for about 10 days, some of the team and I we got all over Haiti. Praise God. And super cool, super incredible. Traveled in safety, traveled in favor. We felt like, going into Cap, going into Jeremy, going into Port Salut, going into Kai, Fondouze, Grand Guave, Jacmel, Tigouave. Kai, Jacmel, all these cool places, and got to see our campuses, meet with staff, see a lot of the children who are now adult kids. They're older and they've gotten so big, and just seeing their personalities again and all that. So it was just really neat to reconnect with the work. You can't forget your history. You can't forget where you came from. And so exciting to go back to those places that we hadn't been in a while. And then just dreaming about the future, as we are coming alongside with more, coming alongside more families outside of our residential care of kids, helping vulnerable families, helping vulnerable children, and then even starting the Montessori daycares, the Little Hands daycares that we're trying to plant all over Haiti as God would allow us to do that. And so it was so fun to dream about partnerships with different partners in those different cities we got to go to, safe spaces to plant a Montessori school that would help families in that community have a safe space to drop their children off, get the awesome Montessori education and the manipulatives, the experiential learning, the social demographic where the older kids are interacting with the youngers and vice versa, and just all in the cool setting and the meal and brain development, all that stuff and activity, So it was exciting. I get pumped about that. I get excited to see what God's going to do. And of course, it's going to take an army. It's going to take all of your help. And we sure hope you'll join us in that as we still care for kids on our campus, as we still come alongside vulnerable families and meet pressure points to preserve family, and then even to help working families have a cool space like a Montessori daycare. Who would have thought that Haiti could have a Montessori daycare program? And so spreading that all over, those were the highlights for me of the recent trip.
That's so
again, covet your prayers as Patrick asked for, and keep up with all that through our newsletter, our blogs, and you can get text all of that on our website. So handsandfeetproject.org, right?
For sure. Thanks for watching this episode. We are so excited to just be taking this journey together.
Yeah.
Go check us out on socials and share, like, subscribe, all the things. And I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah. We'll see you next time. Awesome.